Hey everyone, welcome to the Chicago Smart Podcast. This is going to be your Major League Baseball preview for the 2026 season. Before I get into all that, you're probably wondering, where have you been? It's been 5 long months, just work, and it's been work and life, honestly. Life more than work. Work's kind of been crazy, but I was really hoping to do some more of these types of shows during the Bears season, especially with the type of season that the Bears ended up having. Um, so it was just a shame I couldn't do any of that even during the playoffs. Just it was tough. Been a tough couple of months. But it's okay. I mean, I'm good. Nothing bad. I'm good. It was just life, a lot of things going on, kids and family and all kind of stuff going on in my personal life. But yeah, that's where I've been. I've just been busy. And I think this now is a good time to kind of get back into it. I did not want to turn this into strictly just a baseball show. I know that I've covered basketball in the past or have talked about other stories and sports in general, but I know that I was really heavy on the baseball. So towards the end of the program, I'm going to have a little bit of a teaser of some other content that I also might be doing as well. If I can find the time, I don't want to make any promises to you guys and not pull through. Um, so that's where I've been. That kind of covers that. I'm back. Hopefully, I can do these a little bit more frequently. I'm hoping to try to do this weekly, if not bi-weekly. But definitely trying to do this a little bit more often, just because I know that there's been a lot of stories that are out there that would have loved to have covered. So I'm kind of going to go in reverse and then get back into the present. So obviously, from the last time I recorded, the Cubs did not make the World Series. They lost to the division series in Game Five to the Brewers. Um, and it sucked. It was not good. They lost. Hey, I mean, they made a really good effort. They pushed it to a Game 5. Um, and even though the Brewers didn't get past the Dodgers and they got swept, it didn't make me feel better. I mean, I teased a little bit and I trolled a little bit with some of my brothers from my Bible study in my church. That we have a sports chat that we have through an app, WhatsApp. So we kind of just joked through there, but it didn't feel good. I mean, at the end of the day, this is not a game of freeze tag, like I've said before, and I think I said this before. If not, I'm gonna use that word a lot. This is not a game of freeze tag, where if one team loses to one, if the other team that beat you loses to somebody else, you don't automatically get back into that spot and take their spot. That's just not how sports works. They lost. Ultimately, they failed. Right, like they had a lot of good success throughout the playoffs. Um, Especially those games against the Padres where Dansby was really that big catalyst with the defense. Um, them being down 2-0 to the Brewers and then coming back at home and tying it up to bring it to that pivotal Game 5. All those games were great. It showed that there's a lot of talent there. Obviously, they've added some talent since then, which I'll get into, but I kind of want to stay in the past to bring you back to the present. Um, the big thing, which is kind of funny, which is it kind of ties them, which is 2 points. I'm actually going to tie the Cubs and the Bears to funny enough, with teams in Wisconsin, which is kind of just so crazy what happened over those last couple of months, going from Cubs Brewers to Bears Packers. But I'll get to that. There's 2 points that I kind of just want to make that tie those two things together. So at the end of that Game 5, when they had their team photo for the Brewers, um, and they posed right like as teams usually do. The Cubs did it at the end of the Wow, wild card series when they beat the Padres. They had their flag out and they all took a team picture on the field. The Brewers did the same thing, but the Brewers decided to, instead of having their team flag representing their club, they had a big L flag, which was kind of sort of trolling us, which we have the W flag. And there were some people that didn't take too kindly to that. I was just kind of like, hey, to the victor goes the spoils. I didn't like to see it. I saw it. I didn't like to see it. It really bothered me as much as it bothered some other people, fans, and some radio personalities here in Chicago, a bit as well. And that's fine. Right. That's all fine. The guys up in ESPN in Wisconsin, and there are other radio stations out there in Wisconsin, thought, hey, this is perfect. Yeah, we got to troll them, and great. Right. To the victor goes the spoils. You get to celebrate however you want. Now, now it's funny to me because again, I don't really concentrate on the fans because there's a lot of fans that they're fickle, right? And I put myself sometimes that could be fickle. I could be mad at the Cubs for a while, and I've expressed that on some of these podcasts how I get mad at them when they weren't hitting and when things weren't happening, but I love them when they're doing great. And again, that's just the life of being the fan. And ultimately, I know I pick on a lot of the radio personalities here in Chicago, whether it be Cap and Hood from ESPN 1000 or the guys on 670, the score. And I know I'm going to keep calling it 670 the score, and I'm going to keep correcting myself even though they're still simulcasting on 670 to score. I know they're on 1043 um FM. But again, I'm probably just gonna keep saying 670 to score, so I'll just say the score just to be correct. I know I pick on them sometimes, right? And ultimately, right. I feel like sometimes they are held to a higher standard because they have this platform for 4 hours a day, sometimes three, or however long they're on the radio for how long their show is on the radio. And we pick on them, right? Because we hold them to a higher standard because they have this platform, but sometimes, ultimately, they're fans. There's guys that in those radio stations, especially Cap. Cap doesn't hide his Cubs fandom. Cap is a diehard Cubs fan. You can even call him a meatball because sometimes he has some takes that are meatball takes. We all have them, right? But he's held to this different standard than us as fans, or even a guy like me who runs a podcast, and just a normal guy. Because there's guys that run a podcast that have are former players like AJ Przinsky and his Foul Territory former players that run a podcast. So I'm talking about like normal Joe Schmoes like me who have a podcast who don't have that platform who are not former players. Um, so yeah, maybe I should be held to that same standard because I'm giving my opinion, but again, that's debatable. But anyways, kind of sort of coming back and bringing it back. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of standards that we hold for the people in podcasts because that's something that I want to kind of talk about later on. That's is a topic I wanted to talk about later on. It might be even become a whole entire show. Um, but when the Bears were playing the Packers in January, within a 3 week span, they played them, I believe, twice in January. And I'm sorry if I have that incorrect, but I believe so, right? They lost that first game on an interception that Caleb Williams threw, and I'm sorry I forgot who caught the interception for the Packers. I apologize. I think that's really important. Um, they lost, right? They were close. They were right on the in the red zone. They were right about to score, and there's the end of the game. He throws that heart crushing interception, right? He doesn't get the touchdown. A few weeks later, Bears are down. It's a national game. It's on Fox. It's national. Everybody's watching this game and they're down. And all of a sudden they make this ridiculously miracle comeback. And I remember because I watched it with my son and I watched it with those same brothers from my church. We all got together at the youth center, which we call the free. And we watched it on a Saturday night. We coordinated with the church. We brought food, we brought soda, water. Again, it's a church, so we're not drinking. So nobody was drinking, but everybody sure was on a high, but not from drinking, and maybe from the sugar from the soda. If anybody had any other soda that had sugar in it, because there was some people that are trying to stay away from sugar, which is not a bad thing. I'm not trolling anybody who doesn't like sugar in their drinks. Maybe they want water, maybe like those carbonated waters. I do personally, but whatever, right? We had a good time. We're watching this game, and we're all just, oh man, the Bears, dude, they're down. They take out their quarterback, Jordan Love. He goes down when one of the Bears like hits him, and I think he's on the concussion protocol. Or basically, he can't come back. He's out, right? And we think, Malik Willis. Oh, we got it now. No, now we're gonna know. He started just marching down the field, and man, I give that kid a lot of credit, right? And I call everybody kid, just because how old I am. I'm guessing he's obviously younger than me, so I'm gonna call him kid. But he did a great job. He did a phenomenal job. But here comes the Bears, and it just started this trend of these comebacks, right? And basically, it was a walk off. That's the best way I can describe it. I know that you can't call it that in football and baseball. It's a walk off when somebody hits a home run to end the game. But literally, Caleb Williams just that fourth down play that he made to Janae Walker, I believe it is, and I hope I have that correct. I probably have his name wrong. To tie the game, they go into overtime. Obviously, you guys have probably seen this as a thousand times, like I've seen it. Ultimately the Packers just fail, right? They fail in overtime. They don't convert that fourth down play. Bears get it back. Bears start marching down the field. You think they're going to try to hit a field goal to end the game. Here comes Caleb Williams. He throws this, just chucks this dime. Here comes DJ Moore. Boom, catches it. Game over. Bears win. I mean, we went absolutely bananas, right? We were bananas. There's video footage of us absolutely going bananas. We're like delirious 10-year-olds, the way Pat Hughes described Ben's I'm sorry. Oh my goodness, what's the guy's name? Why am I drawing a blank? Ben Zobrist. So Ben Zobrist, when they won the 2016 World Series, he was jumping up and down, and Pat Hughes described him as uh, a delirious 10-year-old. Right? That's how we were. We're like delirious 10-year-olds, just jumping up and down. I get to watch this with my son Nicholas, and we're just all really happy. Right? Fast forward a couple of weeks, here comes the wild card playoff. Right? Bears Packers. And it's here at home. And again, same story. We go down and it just doesn't look good. I'm like, man, this is great. The Packers are gonna put us out of the playoffs. And here comes Caleb Williams, puts on his Superman cape again and just goes absolutely nuts. And again, they do it again. They somehow beat this team again. So what do? We've played the Packers already once in the playoffs. They took us out of the NFC Championship in 2010. We got some sort of measure of revenge by kicking them out of the playoffs or getting them out of the playoffs by beating them. So what do the Bears do? They troll, right? They got the little cheese grater, they got the hats on. Caleb Williams in the post-game interview on Amazon Prime is grinding up the cheese on the cheese grater, sticking his tongue out, just giving the fans and everybody what they want, right? If that wasn't worse enough, and I'm sure that it is hard for you to watch your rival put you out of the playoffs. Remember, I just talked about the Brewers putting the Cubs out of the playoffs and going into the uh, NLCS, right? The National League Championship against the Dodgers. Regardless of the result of that series, right? Worse to to put more salt into the wound. Here comes Ben Johnson in his post game, right? In his post game locker room thing that he does with the guys, right? Hands out the footballs, and he basically says, F the Packers, right? Boom. That goes just viral. I mean, it goes viral because all the Bears fans are like, yeah, that's right. F the Packers, blah, 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 blah. Now we own you. We're your daddies, blah, 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 right? Comes Monday. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Monday was funny, but it was also kind of like wow. Because those same voices on those Wisconsin radio stations that were all for the Brewers flying that L flag and and taking a picture with it, it's wow, that was classless by Ben Johnson. Wow, act like you've been there before. It even made it to ESPN, where Stephen A. Smith was kind of on that side. Act like you've been there before. Hmm. Again, two different sports. The only similarities is we're talking about the same state. Illinois versus Wisconsin or Green Bay versus the Bears in the case of Brewers versus Cubs, right? There's a lot of there, I mean, there's that similarity, right? There's a lot of Brewers fans that are Packers fans. That makes sense, right? There was a gentleman, though, funny enough, on a post game for because that was the same night, in fact, that was the same night that the Cubs signed Bregman. So that kind of sort of took the sting out of when the Bears weren't winning, right? So there was a Cubs podcast that they do on YouTube that went live. Funny enough, the guy that's one of the hosts, there was two hosts or host and co-host, if I guess if you want to say that. One of the guys is a Cubs fan, Bears fan. The other guy was a Cubs fan, Packers fan. Which don't ask me how that's possible, but it's possible. Hey, I can't tell you how that's possible, but it's possible. He was salty about it. He said, "Hey, it sucks, but whatever, right?" Um, but they went just completely nuts on Wisconsin radio. That's so classless. The handshake between Lafleur and Ben Johnson, that was so classless. He barely even looked at him. Guess what? That's what a rivalry is called. So guess what? If they beat us next year, whether it be in the regular season or if we meet in the playoffs again, they beat us, it's gonna suck. But if the Packers decide to troll us back and it's back and forth, guess what? That makes the rivalry better. You can't cry when it's your team that's getting trolled. Take it. If you don't like it, then don't watch it. It sucks, right? They hate us so much, really do. And I'm not saying that the radio hosts particularly hate us, because a lot of the guys will come on the score. Like there's a gentleman I can't remember from the affiliate from Wisconsin that comes on the score. That's from Wisconsin. Obviously, he's a Wisconsin guy out there. He reports on the Packers and the Brewers, and they'll troll each other, and it's fine. But it's all in good fun. But don't cry. Don't say it's classless. Don't say act like you've been there before when you have an entire team flying an L flag to troll us. If anybody said that was classless, I'm going to tell you the same thing. Hey, they get to celebrate however they want. It sucks to see them do that because it's just rubbing salt on the wound. But take it. Stop. I get really really aggravated when I hear that, especially when it comes to like people on the radio or even nationally, right? Like, I'm not gonna write a hate letter to Stephen A. Smith. I don't always agree with all his opinions, and I may even make fun of him sometimes. But I'm not going there, right? That's not what I would do. I just have too much things to do to be sending a hate letter or even a Twitter campaign against Stephen A. Smith or these hosts in Green Bay or anybody else who had a problem with this, right? But why don't we call it for what it is? It's just you're being salty. So you have the right to be salty, but don't go on the radio and start calling out Ben Johnson. Oh, I cannot wait. Oh my goodness, we can't wait. We cannot wait for the season to start because Pete Crow Armstrong pimped that home run. I think it was like July, I think, or June or July when they were playing in Milwaukee, in the Brewer Stadium at what is it, American Family Field, I think is what they call it. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. There's people on Reddit. There's people on all the social media. I cannot wait till Pete Crow Armstrong comes back to Milwaukee. Oh, I hope he gets beamed because he pimped that home run. I mean, sure. If you want to, go for it. I mean, if that's how you want to act, you can't. Or even on the Bears side, oh, we can't wait. We want to take out Caleb. Oh, we want to take out their guy. Oh, you put one of ours in the hospital. We're gonna put one of your guys in the morgue. Right? That's that saying from the Untouchables movie. Right? You put one in the hospital, we'll put one in the morgue, or something like that. Right? I get it, right? That you didn't like that, right? You didn't like that. He said F your team or in the cheese graters and all that. But why don't you act like you've been there before and stop being such a sore loser, right? Oh my goodness, I can't wait till next week because on the Rams, LaFleur's brother's on there. So he's gonna get revenge for his brother and take the Bears out. Do you know what happens if the Bears get eliminated by the Rams, which they did? Guess what? Doesn't make your season any more successful than ours because guess what? We got past one more round than you did, but we ultimately didn't win the Super Bowl. So at the end of the day, we're both losers, aren't we? Because we didn't win the Super Bowl. So what does that really do? I mean, that's what gets me about sports fans or even just these analysts. Sometimes it's just they look for revenge and they cheer for teams that they otherwise wouldn't cheer just because it makes me feel better because God forbid that the Bears make it all the way and won the Super Bowl. Oh, I can't stand it. I remember 10 years ago, funny enough, when the Cubs won the World Series. The Cardinals actually went through the 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 trouble, I guess, for lack of a better word. I can't find a better word. They went through the trouble, the absolute distinction and trouble to produce a shirt that says not my world champion because again at that time after the Cubs had won the World Series, uh the President Trump had been elected president for the first time in 2016. So a lot of people were going around saying not my president. They took that and spin that into not my World Series champions. I'm like, oh, they're going to be insufferable. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Of course, all fans are insufferable. Yes, Cubs fans can be insufferable, especially when we beat teams that we're rivals with, but it goes both ways, right? So that's the thing that got me. And it was so funny because I really wish I could have gotten on here when all this was happening after the Brewers beat the Cubs. And then obviously after the Bears beat the Packers twice in two very pivotal games, one to take possession of first place and want to obviously win the wild card and boot the Packers out of the playoffs. I think it's so funny because it drives them crazy. Like because we're favored for a division with the Cubs this year. Oh no, they're always favored. Nobody ever favors us. Okay. Nobody ever said that you guys weren't good. You guys are the ones that are taking it harder than everybody else. The more you cry, the more they're gonna needle you. Think about it. I'm the little brother, right? So it's me and my older brother. I don't have any other siblings. I do have two sisters from my dad's second marriage, right? And we don't see each other a lot. Um, but again, I remember growing up with my brother, right? And he would pick on me, and the more I would cry, or the more I would go complain to my mom, he would just do it more, right? That's what they're gonna do. So stop selling it. Stop showing that you're getting angry. Just be like, hey, whatever, right? Have your feelings, have your emotions, right? I just thought it was funny. I don't really know why I thought it was so funny to see that out flag because I'm like, you guys went through all that trouble. That's how much we get under your skin. So now we know we're under your skin. Now we know what we need to do to poke at you. Don't tell anybody that this is bothering you, right? Now, I wish this was video so I can show you what I'm doing, but I'm going to describe to you, right? When somebody says, am I bothering you yet? I'm poking on your shoulder. Am I bothering you yet? Am I bothering you yet? Until you finally snap and be like, hey, can you stop? Right? That's what they're doing to each other. So these little national analysts, they need to kind of sort of keep their opinions to themselves because I don't hear anybody really, really saying anything when these rivalries happen somewhere else. It just happens. The victors go to the spoils. And that's how it's just going to be. We got it. We just got to live with it. And I try not to complain too much, right? Because sometimes it sucks seeing that, but it is what it is, right? Anyways, moving on. So a little comparison here that I want to kind of sort of talk about, especially with the Cubs and the Bears, where I kind of feel like I want to kind of talk about it and kind of just give you a little sneak preview into the MLB preview I'm going to be talking about in a few moments before I move on to a White Sox topic I want to talk about. Um, the Cubs and the Bears, funny enough, same city. Obviously, Caleb looks like Caleb and PC have developed quite a romance together and a friendship over this past season. Um, but what I want to talk about the Cubs and the Bears is they were so similar in that the Cubs were really good during the first half of the season, and then sort of that second half of the season, they kind of sort of slowed down a little bit. The production just kind of just went down for everybody. PCA wasn't having that good of a season. He did make the All Star team, but then after that All Star break, they kind of just started just trickling down. Funny enough, with the Bears, they played a bad first half, especially a lot of those games. They played a bad first half, but then a really good second half. So they were kind of like the yin and the yang, right? So I'm hoping that the Cubs this season, excuse me, and play good baseball throughout, right? Consistent baseball throughout because we see them being really super dominant up until the All Star break, and then all of a sudden after that All Star break, those last 2 years they slowed down, and it hasn't been, it hasn't been the same team. It's almost like two opposites of each other. So they need to find that that consistency, right? And I hope that now as they're starting to play more together with each other and they're starting to get to know each other even better, right? This is what year 3 or 4 for Dansby. I want to say it's 4. This is Pete's third year, I believe. You know, Nico and Ian have been there for a bit. Bush has been there for a bit. Bregman's coming in. Obviously, that was their big signing, and maybe he can offer some consistency because he's all about baseball. He's so him and Dansby, I feel like they can really work well together. I think that just because they're on that same side of the field, I think they can work really well together. That infield looks really, really good. They need to just stay consistent, right? It doesn't matter if it's the Nationals that they play tomorrow or the Brewers or the Sox or the Cardinals or whoever, right? They got to play the Dodgers at some point. Padres, Mets. I'm trying to think of all these juggernauts that are out there. You know, it's like they got to stay consistent, right? They got to find that consistency somewhere where, yes, that rest is good. But also, I think Council's there for his third season. He needs to start learning how to rest these guys more because I also feel like a lot of that is fatigue. And that's just something that he's just going to have to work with these guys and be like, hey, I need you to sit these days, right? Especially when we have a lot of back to back to back to back. So there's not a lot of rest. They need to start learning how to rest these guys, right? And I get it, especially if you're in there neck and neck with the Brewers for that division, which I think they will be. Honestly, I think they will be. I don't see the Brewers just going away just as easy. They get rid of guys and they plug them back in. They got ready Freddie Peralta, but Jacob Mizorowski's still there. They still have a lot of good pitchers there, and they're the Brewers. It all starts with that man in the dugout, Pat Murphy, two-time Manager of the Year. That man is not going to let this team give him anything less than 100%, and they're all going to play for him because he's a player's manager. He's a good manager. That's I have no problem saying that. He is a good manager. I would even say he's a great manager, right? He's very good at what he does. He manages what he's got and he manages it very well. So Frank Council needs to take a little bit of that from his mentor because that's the guy that was in that dugout with him when they were in Milwaukee together. Take some of that. Take some of that Pat Murphy. Bring it with you, right? Managing your guys, learning to say, hey, I'm the captain of the ship. I get it. You got tenure and you've been in the league for a long time, but I need you to rest. Ultimately, our goal is to be healthy enough and be ready for those playoffs. Because right now, I mean, the Dodgers are gonna be the team that you got to get past. And I'm not saying because they're the two-time World Series champions. It's because they look to just be just as strong. Excuse me, just as strong. They have that depth, right? They have a lot of pitching depth. So when guys go down or guys are having issues, they have that pitching depth. So they need to play those two consistent halves of baseball. Just like the Bears, I hope that next year they learn how to play two halves of football and play them completely. Now, onto this White Sox situation before I get into my MLB preview. So the White Sox are in another predicament, and not just one predicament, two predicaments. And I've not listened to every radio program in the last couple of days, so I don't know if they've covered this like I'm going to cover this. I know they've covered the Frank Thomas situation, right? But from the aspect that I'm going to cover it, I'm going to talk about it. I don't know if it's been really covered that way, right? Like I'm not really sure if it's been covered in that. There's a sort of what's the word I'm looking for here? There's a sort of similarity in this situation with Frank Thomas that I don't think anybody's really covered. This is not something that's new. This contention, this problem with Frank Thomas that the Sox are having has been something that's been going on for 20 years, 21 almost, you can say, since he left in 2006. Well, 20 years, I should say, because he was there in 2005. He just didn't play in the World Series. I think he was hurt. I know he just didn't play. But I'm sure it's because he was hurt, obviously. Um, but when he left, the things that Kenny Williams said about this man. Look, I never said that Frank Thomas was a saint. Frank Thomas has obviously had some pettiness there, right, with the Sox, and it's a two-way street, right? Let's just be clear. And they have covered that on the radio. I did hear Lawrence Holmes and on his show yesterday with Matt Spiegel and Holmes. They covered it yesterday about there's some pettiness there with Frank Thomas in this White Sox situation. But what Kenny Williams said was way out of line, especially to the media. 20 years ago, he basically said the guy was an a-hole. I mean, he's literally said the guy was an a-hole and he needs to stay out of White Sox business. That's where that clip came from. Stay out of White Sox business. Now, there's a little common denominator here with all this that kind of coincides with the Bulls. And you're like, well, how? Well, they're both owned by Jerry Reinsdorf. Yeah. So what's your point, David? Well, here's the thing. He's the owner of both teams, right? So he has people obviously under him, general managers, people that take care of it, right? Not everything comes to him, right? But at this point, this man is not just any guy that played for your franchise. Frank Thomas was the face of your franchise for a very long time, right? When you think of 90s White Sox, you think of Frank Thomas, right? You think of obviously Ozzie Guillen, Robin Ventura, those guys, right? But the common denominator here between the White Sox and the Bulls is they're owned by Jerry Reinsdorf. And I've talked about this before. I've watched the Last Dance, that Bulls documentary. I don't know how many times. I've watched it so many times. Anytime there's been an issue with the player, Jerry Reinsdorf is always somewhere in the middle there, right? And I say in the middle is because he won't get involved, right? He will not get involved. At some point, this contention between the White Sox and Frank Thomas, he needs to say, all right, enough. Get on the phone with them. And I don't know if he has. Frank, what do we need to do to fix this? How can we fix this broken relationship? It's been going on for 20 years. Enough is enough, right? And you're like, well, Frank covered the White Sox on what is it, Comcast Sports Network, when they used to have the Comcast Sports Network before they changed to the one that they're on now. right? He used to come. I'm sorry, NBC Sports Chicago. I always call it Chicago Sports Network. NBC Chicago. He used to cover the games with Ozzy, Chuck Garfien. They used to do the post game. Well, he technically wasn't employed by the White Sox. He was employed by NBC Sports Chicago. So he still spoke highly of the team. He had hopes for this team. He talked good about the team. He didn't have a problem with the current manager and the current players, even with LaRusso, right? He didn't have a problem with them. But the common denominator here, like I said, is Jerry Reinsdorf. Anytime there's been an issue, he never wants to get involved. How does this coincide to the Bulls? When there was an issue with Scottie Pippen in the 90s and his contract, he wouldn't get involved. He let Jerry Krause handle all of it instead of saying, look, I don't mean to step on your toes. I'm not trying to undermine you, but we need to fix the situation, right? The whole thing between Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson, there obviously was no love between these two men, but you decided, hey, I'm going to back my guy. No, he should have gotten in the middle. The media didn't need to find out about it. He could have brought all these men together. Because again, remember in the 90s, there wasn't social media like there is now. So these men could have met and you would have never known about it. And he could have said, all right, let's cut the crap. Let's fix this. That's what he needs to do in the situation with Frank Thomas. Frank Thomas is upset because of the stuff Kenny Williams said about him 20 years ago, who, by the way, he never apologized. Secondly, the situation now with the Black History Month. How do you forget one of the most prominent players in your organization on Black History Month? And even if they, oops, I forgot, there was no retraction, they never added him. Now, this situation now with the jersey, right? He's suing the White Sox and Fanatics because they're using his name and his likeness without his permission. Call it petty, call it him saying, oh, this is how I'm going to stick it to you guys. That's fine. But at what point is Reinsdorf going to get involved? Because if Reinsdorf is not going to get involved, then at this point, he's a lame duck owner. I'm not saying he needs to go out in public and be like, hey, enough's enough. Get these men behind closed doors. Get them to talk because obviously he's an important member of your organization and should be moving forward, right? He was an ambassador for a while, and I know there was an issue there when the city became an ambassador. Look, maybe he has an ego, and I get that. Maybe that's when you guys sit in a room and you talk like men instead of sniping at each other through social media. This is what I'm talking about. This has got nothing to do with, oh, I'm a Cubs fan and I'm I'm giving it to the White Sox. No, this is not a, because the Cubs had their own situation with Sammy Sosa. And you can say that you can be on whatever side of the fence you want with Sammy Sosa, and that's perfectly fine. He can say that he never took these perform enhancing drugs. I'm gonna beg to differ. That's between him and God. And I know that he has spoken that he does have a relationship with the Lord, and hopefully, that's something that he can take up with the Lord. He knows that's between him and the Lord. But there was other teams like the Cardinals, and I know that MLB, just in general, welcome back Barry Bonds. I think he was a hitting coach for a bit, and so was McGuire, right? So if these teams can sort of say, hey, we know you've had this scandal before, but we'd like to bring you in. We'd like to have you around the game, right? That's that's between the Cubs and Sammy Sosa, but they fixed it. Somehow they fixed it, right? This is the same thing they need to do. The White Sox need to do the same thing. They need to fix this because this is getting ugly, right? And it's making and it's always like what they were saying on the radio. It's always the White Sox. There's always these situations. Why can't we just have an opening day without a situation instead of us concentrating on, hey, they're having this opening day tomorrow and they're playing the Brewers up in Milwaukee. That's going to be great. They haven't been up to Milwaukee, for an opening day in a bit. Ever since I think they were probably back in the American League together. So this is going to be kind of cool, right? Nope. There's this White Sox situation. And that's not even the only White Sox situation that's going on. It's just the most prominent one because there's a lawsuit going on. What's the other White Sox situation that's going on? They decided that now, during the day games, when Waddle and Sylvia are supposed to be on, and the Sox are actually preempting them because the Sox are on ESPN 1000, when there's day games, while that day game is going on ESPN 1000, you can actually listen to Waddle and Sylvie through YouTube and through Stream, I believe, or something like that. I'm sorry, and I have that wrong. I apologize. I'm showing my old man hat now, but I know for sure it's going to be through YouTube. So you're telling me that there's fans that are not White Sox fans that, hey, I still want to listen to Waddle and Sylvie, but the White Sox are on. Okay, no problem. Sure. But hasn't that been the situation for years and decades where a team is playing on a station, you don't get to hear that sports show for that day? But what about if I don't want to listen to the White Sox and I want to hear them talk about sports? Well, at some point, that's all that's going to be on, other than maybe the basketball. you know, playoffs. Because coming up is what? March Madness, basketball playoffs. And what comes during the summer? I'm really, really trying hard, really, to think, other than obviously baseball, the obvious answer. So, what are they going to talk about? So, the game's going to be going on. Are they going to talk about the game that's going on now? Because they're probably going to have it on, right? Because sometimes that's what they would do, right? Hey, the game just finished. Let's talk about the game, right? They would automatically, after that post game show, go to whatever that preempted version of Waddle and Sylvie was, whether it was a half an hour or an hour or whatever it was, right? But what about if you are a White Sox fan, but also a fan of Waddle and Sylvie? You still want to listen to the program. Now you have to choose? That doesn't make any sense, right? Like that partnership doesn't make any sense to me, right? What about if you want to do both? So you're going to have the game on over here and listening to them? What are they going to talk about? Really? I don't, I mean, and when the Bears obviously get into training camp in July, August, sure. But what are they going to talk about? Can you tell me are they going to talk about the previous night's game? So let's say the Sox play a game the night before, then they have a day game the next day, or they have a series the next day, or whatever, right? You're going to tell me that why a baseball game is going on, and not just White Sox, Cubs too, by the way. What about if the Cubs are playing the day game? The Cubs obviously don't play on ESPN 1000. They play on the score, right? Or their games are broadcast on the score, their games, right? So you're telling me that there's a White Sox and a Cubs game going on at the same time. What are you going to talk about? Are you going to describe of what's going on? Because you guys are going to have your TVs on, right? Seeing, hey, so and so got a base hit, or so and so is doing this, or blah, blah, blah. Are they going to talk about that? I'm really, really interested and intrigued. What are they going to talk about during these games? Because if the game is going on, what could they possibly cover? I mean, there's stories. I'm sure there's going to be, excuse me, stories that are going to pop up that they're going to talk about from the previous night. Something that may have happened in the basketball playoffs or March Madness, or, and then again, I'm not sure when they're going to start. And I didn't see that in the story when they're going to start. They're going to start like as of tomorrow, because the Sox game there's a game tomorrow already. Obviously, it's opening day tomorrow. Um, but what are they going to talk about? I would really be interested on what topics are they going to cover. Are people going to call in who are actually currently watching the Sox game and say, "I want to call in and I want to talk about this"? Like it just doesn't make sense. Make it make sense. I guess to me, it doesn't make sense to have a game going on when there's another baseball game going on, specifically for your flagship station, which is ESPN 1000. You say, hey, you're over on YouTube, right? So obviously you can put your phone on and watch it on YouTube, and then you can have the Sox game on the TV, or vice versa. Have the Sox on your phone and Waddle and Sylvie on your TV, or however, right? Or in the office, right? Let's say you're in the office. If I was working from the office, how do I do this? I have to do my work. I can't watch your show because obviously I'm going to get in trouble. I should be working. It's easy for me to listen to a baseball game while I'm working because I do it all the time, right? I listen to baseball games while I'm working. I may keep it at a lower volume, but I'm able to focus to do both. If I feel like, hey, I got something going on and there's an emergency at work, and I kind of need to not listen to the game, I'll turn off the game, and the little sports sticker will tell me, hey, somebody hit a home run or whatever. I'll check the sports ticker if there's an emergency going on at work that I have to sort of hyper focus on that, right? But what do people do? Who made this decision that thought this was a good idea, right? And I wonder how the Sox feel about this. That's what gets me is it doesn't make any sense to me. But that's just something that's been swimming around in my head. How does this make sense? Now on to my MLB preview. So technically the season starts tonight. Game on Netflix. Giants versus Yankees in Yankee Stadium, right? I believe, yeah, I think it's Yankee Stadium. Regardless, there's some people that are like, oh, they're starting a season with an interleague game. Okay, sure. Not, I mean, again, it's fine. I mean, I'm interested to see both. Honestly, if I have a chance, I'll probably catch some of it. I do. I probably can't catch some of the game. I'll probably catch maybe like 20 minutes of the game. I think the game starts at no, the cover starts at 6. So I take that back. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud here as I'm doing this. Yeah, the cover starts at 6, the game starts at 7. So I'll probably watch it when I return back from my Bible study. But because Wednesday nights is Bible study for me. So I'm sure I'll catch it when I come back. But it's on Netflix, so I'm sure I can always also check the score on my phone as I'm leaving Bible study tonight. But anyways, in any case, it's Giants Yankees. The Yankees didn't add anybody over the offseason. I know that didn't make Aaron Judge very happy seeing all these moves going on, and none of those moves actually occurring in his for his club, and he made it very clear. And we're gonna see what the Yankees bring. Honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, it's not like they. It's not. I mean, it's not like they were exactly bad last year, but they weren't very consistent at times. Um, and it's hard to really say that about the Yankees. I mean, it really, really is hard to say that about the Yankees. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. We shall see. Because Aaron Judge is still wearing that stain of the World Baseball Classic on him that he wasn't very clutch. And then anytime the national stage appears or those lights are the brightest, Aaron Judge doesn't seem to do too well. So that's going to be interesting, right? And again, it's one game. They can lose a series against the Giants, and people will probably be up in arms. Oh my goodness. It's just one game. I'm talking about it the season as a whole. What version of the Yankees are we going to see? Boston's going to be very good. So is Toronto. Toronto was just in the World Series. I don't think Toronto's going to be like, okay, we're going to sleep now, right? I mean, they lost Bo Bichette, but I mean, they've also added as well. It's going to be an interesting season. It's going to be an interesting season altogether, even in that AL East, because then you also have Pete Alonso playing for the Orioles. And again, we don't know, right? Baseball's so weird. It's 162 games. You never know what's going to happen. Because I frankly was surprised that the Braves were as bad as they were last year. But again, with all those injuries, I mean, it wasn't a surprise because of that, but also a surprise because they're the Braves. They're so consistent with with those playoff appearances or how good they are. They're always in that mix, right? Um, the second game I want to talk about is the White Sox and the Brewers. I mentioned that a little bit earlier about the Brewers. The White Sox opening up in Milwaukee. That's actually going to be really interesting. Um, are the Sox going to be a playoff team this year? I don't think so. But again, I could be surprised. I could be surprised. Will they maybe come out as a wild card? I don't know about that division. And when again, really their biggest competition is Detroit. We don't know about Kansas City. Minnesota right now is in rebuild mode. They're not really going to do much. I don't know how long is Byron Buxton's body going to hold up before he has an injury. So the division, and then Cleveland, of course. How can I forget Cleveland? The Guardians are always just sneaky good. But who knows? Who knows? But I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see Murakami, to see all these guys. How good are they going to be? But again, it's just one series. I'm talking about the season as a whole. I can't even make any predictions about the season. I don't even want to say anything about the season until I don't know, maybe Memorial Day. And then I could kind of see, hey, spend some time. Let me start maybe giving some predictions on how I see maybe how the rest of the season may go, or maybe being up to the All-Star break. But it's interesting. I want to see this. I really want to see, you know, how good they're going to be. And this is not, oh, the White Sox, you have to help us out to put the Brewers in a hole so we can. No, this is just this that I don't even want to go there. It's just I'm really interested in seeing this game. I really hope that the White Sox have a good season. They did they did lose Luis Robert, but again, I mean, it wasn't like he was very consistent either. Like we're gonna see how he does for the Mets. I mean, the Mets manager Carlos Mendoza, he's absolutely nuts about Luis Robert. We're gonna see. We're gonna see. We're definitely gonna see. Um, right now, there's a lot of young guys there, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's hard to really tell. With the Brewers, they're just always sneaky good. They're pesky. They're just always in it all the time. And then, like I referenced before, their manager just always makes sure that he keeps them in that fight, and that's cool, man. There's not really there's not really much I can really bad say about the Brewers. I mean, it is what it is. They're a good team, and it's good to have competition. Honestly, I think it raises the Cubs, standard a little bit more to say, hey, we really gotta compete with these teams. I didn't know that there was a game on tonight. Sorry, not tonight. Excuse me. Tomorrow night. Tonight's obviously the Giants and the Yankees. I thought that NBC's national coverage was going to start on Sunday, and Sunday was going to be their first game, but apparently not. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Dodgers and Diamondbacks on NBC. They're going to be on NBC and Peacock. That's interesting, right? Because everybody, game one, because they're the Dodgers, everybody's already. got their eye peeled to how are the Dodgers going to be right out the gate. And then you got the Diamondbacks who knows what the Diamondbacks are going to give us. It's hard to really say what the Diamondbacks are going to give us, right? It's it's or give us, just as MLB fans in general. What are we going to see from them? This is why I like baseball so much because it's really hard to tell. You can look at a team on paper and be like, "Oh, those guys are world beaters," and then you can look at another team and be like, "Man, they're going to have a rough season." You don't know. Sometimes you get into this rhythm and that camaraderie, that belief within that clubhouse. Those 26 men in that clubhouse are like, "Hey, we got this mission. Let's go." So that's another game that I'm also very interested in. That seems like it's going to be a really interesting game. I'll see how much of that one I can catch. Again, I have so much going on at home with work and the kids, specifically at night with the kids. So I mean, obviously the kids will be done with homework by then, but I also don't want to just be hyper focused on baseball and not pay attention to my kids. But I try to do my best and try to look at highlights or maybe just peek at the game really quick, maybe through quickly through my phone, and then kind of just the family, which I think I've expressed that before, how much I'm a family man, and I try to give my kids as much time as I possibly can, just because they grow so fast. I think any parent that's listening to this now knows what I'm talking about. You literally go from the first day of school of kindergarten, and then all of a sudden now they're graduating, like my oldest son Nicholas, who I remember his first day of pre-K, and it literally feels like I blinked my eyes and he's ready to graduate, grade school to go on to high school next year. And it's just wow. It's just wow. He's getting into baseball now. For those who know me and who follow me on social media, I posted videos of him in the batting cage just trying to get his timing down, and it's kind of cool. Us being able to talk baseball. It's really cool. It's just really cool. Me and him just connected on baseball, connected on sports. So it's really cool. As I mentioned before at the top of the program, we watched that Bears game together. We watched the wild card game together, and then we ended up watching the playoff game between the Rams and the Bears. And he also wants to play football in high school. Scary as that can be, I feel like his mom and I feel like we just have to let him try it, just to give it a shot. But yeah, I mean, just really proud of him. But back to baseball. And of course, my beloved Cubbies. They added Alex Bregman. Pete Crow Armstrong got that humongous contract yesterday. And now the pressure's on, right? The pressure's on, right? Like the pressure was already on before he even got the contract because you're like, what PCA are we going to get? Are we going to get first half PCA or second half PCA? I really think that Bregman is going to be so important to PCA. Like you don't understand. Like I'm not to say that Ian Happ or Swanson or Nico weren't in his ear, weren't working with him, weren't you know they seem very tight. Those guys all seem very tight, right? But I really feel like Bregman's really going to have a very positive impact on him, and I hope that he really takes the time to listen to those veterans like Bregman, like Hap, like Horner, like like Swanson, right? Like those guys are veterans. They've been there before. And Swanson, better than anybody, knows what it feels like to have that humongous contract and that thing over your head, like, hey, we want to see you earn that money. So I really feel like that's going to be very important for him. We're going to see what Bregman gives us. I'm really excited to see Bregman. I really am. I'm really excited to see Bregman, how he does, how he plays at third base. And speaking of third base, we got Matt Shaw in right field, and I really hope that they keep Matt Shaw. Well, why so, David? Well, he didn't do too well in the first half, right? But then that second half, he started to get it together after he came back from the minors. The guy's still young. I mean, we can't judge him on one season. And I think that people, and I'm going to be honest with you, I think people are really sour on him because of his personal views. And I think that whether you agree with his personal views, that's up to you. This is a free country. And thank the Lord that we live in a free country that we can express our views, whether we like those views or not, and whether we like what people say or not. We're very blessed to have those freedoms to speak them, whether anybody likes our opinions or not. I'm not going to go into that because that's not for me to say. I want to, like I said before, since the first program, I want to focus on sports And sometimes politics happen and come into these sports because some of these athletes express their personal beliefs, their beliefs in religion, or beliefs in in uh in a higher power, perhaps. In some cases, but I've expressed my belief in what I believe in, and that's okay, right? But I don't try to hit anybody over the head with it. I'm not ashamed about it. But I think people are really just more focusing on his personal beliefs than his baseball. Has he played right field before? No, he probably played it as a little kid, as he said before, and maybe a little bit in little league and all that. But our alternative was, Suzuki out there. They don't want Suzuki out there. They would rather have him as a DH. I mean, we're going to see. We got guys that we can platoon out there with him. We got guys, like I said before in the beginning, that need rest. So maybe he can give the Bregman that rest. Maybe he can play some second for Nico. Can he play shortstop? I don't know, right? Can he play a little first? Have him as a utility guy. That's what the utility guy's there for. But everybody wants to see him get traded, maybe because they don't like him for his personal beliefs. Possibly. I don't know, right? But those same voices that want him traded, all of a sudden, when he goes to another team and figures it out, all of a sudden you're like, oh, the Cubs made a big mistake. No, 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 no. You're not allowed to express that opinion because you didn't want him here. Period. If you don't want him here, you're not allowed to express that opinion. We say, David, well, we're a free country. We can say whatever we want. No, you're correct. You're absolutely correct. They can express it, but I feel like they don't have a right to, only because don't tell me a guy sucks on one team, but then when he goes to another team, you're like, oh, you guys made a mistake. You shouldn't have let him go. That exactly happened last year when the Cubs traded for Tucker, right? When they got Tucker in December 2024 and they traded away Cam Smith. Ah, well, whatever for Tucker, right? I'll give him away. Oh, what a mistake! All of a sudden, Cam Smith started hitting. Oh, what a mistake! Oh my goodness, that was a mistake. Oh, and then for 1 year, Tucker. Same thing happened with Tucker. All of a sudden, Tucker was a villain while he was still on the Cubs, by the way, because he wouldn't commit to the Cubs because he decided that whatever issue he was having with his, I believe it was it his hand? And I'm sorry, and I'm so sorry, folks, that I forget what the issue was. That he was out almost into like the beginning of the playoffs, and he decided to go see an independent doctor on his own. He was the villain all of a sudden because he was the rah rah guy. He wasn't in on the Cubs. First of all, he didn't choose the Cubs. The Cubs chose him. He could have blocked the trade. I don't know if he had a no trade clause, right? He got traded. He came here. He did his best. I have no ill will against Kyle Tucker. I hope he does great with the Dodgers. I hope he has a good season with the Dodgers. I hope when he comes here to play us or we go there and when we play the Dodgers, I hope he does okay, right? Like where he doesn't hurt us too much and it's a base hit and then the next person maybe hits into a double play or he hits with 2 outs and somebody flies out and he doesn't do too much damage, right? Because I don't want to hear those same voices that said that he was a villain saying we made a mistake. We should have had Kyle Tucker. Because then we don't have to worry about Shaw. Shaw could be that utility guy, but we know we got a consistent guy in right field and Tucker, right? Hmm. That's what I'm talking about when you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. You can say, hey, I was wrong. I wanted this guy gone, but man, I realized that I was wrong. No, they never say that. They say the Cubs made a big mistake. This is on the Cubs. The biggest person that I cannot stand who does the talking out of both sides of his mouth is two people, actually. I should take that back. Bruce Levine, David Kaplan. They're the biggest meatballs. I love them both. I love that they're just old curmudgeon. Sometimes that they could be just a little cranky and curmudgeon, and that's okay, right? Because I can be like that sometimes, especially when it comes to my sports opinions. But don't talk out of both sides of your mouth. Say you're wrong. A few weeks ago, I said this. Last week, I said that. Whenever the time frame is that you said it, say it. Admit that you're wrong. That drives me nuts. Where they're so gung ho about something, and they're yeah, 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 and then it happens, and it's like, ah, they made a mistake, right? Because I know that there's going to be a voice out there that's going to say, is PCA worth that money? Should they have bought him out? He hasn't proven himself yet. Okay, fine. You got a point. Maybe he hasn't proven himself yet. You're right. Maybe he has not proven himself yet. But maybe they felt that they needed to lock up this kid, that he's going to be the future, right? Along with some other guys that are going to be the future that haven't yet come up yet that we don't know about yet, right? That they may have in the minors. Maybe that's their future Cubs team. Oh, well, next is supposed to be Nico. You're right. I agree. Nico needs to be the one that needs to get paid next. I really feel like, in my opinion, if Nico Horner hits free agency and the Cubs cannot bring him back in free agency because his dollar amount goes up because another team drives it up, that's a huge mistake. Because I'm telling you, you plug in Nico Horner at second base, Oh, I don't know, with the Phillies, with the Mets, with the Dodgers. You talk about the Dodgers, yes, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox. Think of any team right now that is lacking like a everyday second baseman, like a guy that is like super consistent. He's not going to hit you a lot of home runs. You're right, but that man gets on base a lot. He is a consistent man on base. Go look at his numbers. He's one of the most overlooked and disrespected second baseman in Major League Baseball. I am telling you this right now. Print it and take it to the bank. Nothing against Bruce Terang. That boy is a good second baseman. That boy can play some second base. But everybody's always talking about Bruce Terang, and they don't include Nico Horner in that conversation. The man was third in hits last year behind, I believe, Terang, or maybe I could be wrong, and Arise. Arise had 200 and something hits. Nico had like 188 or something like that. Third in Major League Baseball in hits, almost 200 hits. He doesn't have to hit you a lot of home runs, especially on a team like the Dodgers. He doesn't have to hit you a lot of home runs. He just needs to get on base. And guess what? He can steal bases too. So, yes, the Cubs need to pay him. I'm not saying they need to pay him tomorrow, but before the end of the season, at some point, Nico needs to get paid. Period. That is one of my favorite players. He needs to get paid. Simple as that. Maybe not at the level that PCA is going to get paid, but he needs to get paid. He's going to demand some money. He's going to earn the money because some other team won't give it to him, right? There was these talks of, well, they brought Bregman in, so they're definitely either going to trade Shaw or they're going to trade Nico. Why? Why can't we have more players? Why are the and I don't mean this as sour grapes towards the Dodgers. I'm just using the Dodgers as an example. The Dodgers have all this surplus of talent. How come they can have all this surplus of talent? Who also, by the way, play in the National League, right? And both the National and the American League both have a DH. So it's not like, oh, well, in the American League it would be different because they had a DH. No, they both have a DH now. The Dodgers can have as much surplus of pitching and hitting as they want, and they have the right to do that, and they obviously exercise that right. That's fantastic. So should every other team. So should the Cubs. Why can't they have a surplus of guys? What about if somebody goes down? Then what? I wish health on every Cubs player and every Major League Baseball player across Major League Baseball. Doesn't matter if it's Cubs, Sox, Dodgers, Red Sox, Yankees, Cardinals, whatever, Reds, right? Doesn't matter. They are allowed to have a surplus of talent. If they can pay them, they can have it because health is so important in a long 162 game season. So why can't the Cubs have somebody who's a utility guy? Why not? Zobrist was a utility guy. Why not? Have well, he needs consistent at bats, so he needs to be down in AAA. Okay, maybe, and maybe they will send him down there if he's not performing where he needs to perform. But right now, even without the Suzuki injury, they need somebody out there that's going to platoon. I don't see Michael Conforto out there every day. To me, maybe in the past, Conforto would have been an everyday right fielder. I'm sorry, he's just not. Maybe he will be the steal of the season for the Cubs. Maybe, but that remains to be seen. Right now, if he plays right field, I don't know, 4, 5 times a week, he doesn't have to DH. He's playing in right field. Your DH is going to be Ballesteros, and I think Ballesteros needs to be your DH until Suzuki comes back, and then when Suzuki comes back, figure it out. I'm sorry. There needs to we need to get rid of this mentality of you can only have 9 players and everybody who's a bench player needs to be bench worthy where they don't really need the at bats. That's why they're a bench bat. No, your bench bats need to also be good because guess what? At some point, if somebody gets hurt, that bench bat is the next one up, right? Next man up. That's how the Brewers do it. It's next man up, right? We need to get out of this old school mentality of your 9 guys are your best 9 guys, and those guys on the bench are okay, but they wouldn't be an everyday starter. We also need to sort of get that mentality into these players to say, hey, look, just because you're not playing every day, you're not a consistent or integral part of this team. You are an integral part of this team. You're going to be in there next man up. I may have you in there and replace you for defense. So they may have Matt Shaw in there at right field and say, hey, you know what? He's gotten close on a couple of balls. He may have booted one. This game is really close. I need to replace him with somebody else. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Baseball season is long, and we see some of these injuries that linger, especially with Suzuki. He's had that. Oblique injury, I believe, two years in a row. Right now, this is not an oblique injury. This is a knee issue. But what about if the oblique thing pops up? Then what? Then you're gonna have to count on Conforto. You're gonna have to count on. I don't know if they've invited Carlson, Dylan Carlson. Again, who are you putting out there? Right? That's what I'm talking about. When things like this happen, that's why you need that surplus. That's why you need that extra talent out there, right? So let's see how this season goes. Go Cubbies. Let's see how it goes. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game. Hopefully it takes place because it looks like there's a big thunderstorm on the way. Hopefully it takes place. If not, they have an off day, and I think they can maybe move that opening to maybe Friday. Because I know they're supposed to play Thursday, off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's against the Nationals. Hopefully we can get a sweep because the Nationals are an up and coming team. They have some young talent, but we also can't play down to our competition. We have to get ready to play. It's going to be cold anyway, so we'll see. I did tease that I was going to talk about some other content I wanted to do. I've been wanting to do this content for a long, long time. So when I called this podcast the Chi-Town Smart or Chicago Smart, I believe I explained that at the very first episode, and if I didn't, I'm going to give you guys a rehash. Smart is a term that's used in professional wrestling, like WWE and all that, right? Means that somebody who thinks that they know everything, they're a smart mark. A mark is known as somebody who thinks they know who thinks they know all about wrestling, right? They think they're smarter than everybody else. So a smart mark, right? A mark is like somebody who believes everything that they see, right? I'm selling you this, right? You believe that this guy really injured this guy. That's the content I want to do. I want to do wrestling content. And I think I'm going to be doing that in the next couple of days or so. So anybody who is listening to this and likes wrestling, I'll put it out in the right platforms for you guys to actually be able to listen to it. If you don't and you think it's just a male soap opera, then if you can just do me a favor, just listen to this one, my baseball/sports podcast. Um, and I would be ever grateful. So thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you guys. God bless. Have a good day.